Royal Ones, this is Miss Gigi coming back with you again with another message. Listen, I'm here to talk about this. This is real personal, but I know everyone goes through it. Ain't nobody talking about it right now. Everybody trying to keep it secret, keep it on hush. I'm talking about domestic violence in your relationship. I know you heard this before. Your spouse is beating you. You need to leave. 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in her life. 1.3 million women are victims of physical assault by a spouse or a boyfriend every year. 84% of spouses abuse, and 83% are abuse from a boyfriend. 85% of women were victims of domestic violence or homicide. You are absolutely right. You should leave. In fact, you should run fast. I'm going to tell you my story. In 2004, I was in a relationship with my boyfriend. He used to beat me for going to check the mail, going outside, talking to the neighbors. He would be very insecure. He would slap me for talking back to him when he got drunk or when he got high. He would pop prescription pills. He was a pill popper. He had walking seizures. And so he would, choke me and kick me and slap me and punch me and throw me into a wall and put a knife to my throat, and then he would pass out. And I'm like, and when he woke up, he said, "Oh, I didn't remember anything because I had a walking seizure." And I'm like, what? And my friend, she introduced me to him. She was like, Gigi, when I met him, he was living in his storage. And, she did not tell me why he got put out, what was going on with him, all this stuff that, you don't know people until you live with them. And he told me he didn't want me to go to school because he said I might find somebody else, so he didn't let me enroll in college. At that time I was 19. He didn't want me to leave him. He only wanted me to stay at home and cook and clean and wash the dishes and, and have sex. And he only wanted me to go out with him. I was like, whoa, he really loved me though. And I thought to myself, he didn't want to lose me because he knew I'm a good woman. I didn't know how naive I really was. The turning point for me came when I started having the worst stomach cramps of my life, and I had to be hospitalized. And I had like 6 gallstones, the size of golf balls. And the doctor sent me home with prep surgery instructions. Sometime that week we had gotten into another argument, and then this bastard kicked me in the stomach. And I found out later on that the gallstones swelled up even more. So I had to be rushed to the hospital. So we called 911, and I was like, please help me. I had to be transported to the ambulance, by ambulance to the hospital for immediate surgery. So while I was in the hospital, I ended the relationship. And since it was my apartment, he had to leave. And he was so angry because that meant he had to, go back to living out of his storage unit. So when I got home, to my dismay, he cut the cord to the refrigerator and he slashed my furniture and he punched holes in the wall. The red flag for me should have been when he told me, my ex threw me out and took the kids and left town and I have nowhere to go. I can't even live with my family. My family won't take me in. I fell for it because, he was cute, slender build, medium, gorgeous blue eyes. I fell for it. We met at a party through a mutual friend, so, I fell for that crap, and I moved him in, not knowing him 2 weeks later. Never thinking a year later I was going to have to file a restraining order against this guy and press charges on him for domestic violence battery. All of a sudden, he fell in love with me. I mean, we were engaged. Of course, I told my family about the abuse, but they chose to stay out of it because I was an adult. I moved him in. Ladies, don't move a cute guy in your apartment, your house, after knowing this guy for 2 weeks. Do a background check on him. Talk to the ex who throw him out. You know, ask more questions. Talk to his friends and family members who know about his past. You know, I never asked about him if he was abusive or controlling. I never asked if he loved or hated animals. I never asked if he couldn't work or didn't work. You know, he was relying on his Social Security check because he has mental problems and these walking seizures. You know, I didn't never ask him why did his family abandon him like that. Why didn't they come help you out? I found out because he had violent outbursts. And he's a danger to himself and everyone around him, including his kids. This guy, he had a thing for knives and violent walking seizure episodes on several family members. So I found out through most of this throughout the relationship and through other friends who came forward and found out, oh, he found somebody new, so I'm gonna talk to her and let her know what type of guy this man she dating. She don't know him. So I was so excited to get him out of my house. I was so relieved. So that was, you know, the first domestic violent relationship I got in. And then so I met a girl named T. She was in a relationship with a guy. She was about 15 years old. This guy was named Jay, and I'll never forget it. They were so in love. I thought they were the perfect couple because she was a cheerleader and he was a football player. Until one day I was walking down the hall in school and I saw those two arguing outside the stairwell. And all of a sudden he just punched her in the face and he kicked her in the stomach so hard. And he called her, you know, a B word. And she fell to the floor. And he turned around and he saw me. And he stormed out through the double doors and he went back to his class. So I offered help, but she said, oh no, don't tell anyone, I love him. And I knew T, she was an inspiring model. And she was so super beautiful, this girl. Oh my gosh, but she was so nice and so friendly and so sweet. I never understood why she was with this guy and why he treated her like that. You know, I found out through talking with her. She was like, yeah, he beat me all the time. And I used to think she was, you know, such a beautiful girl. And with this arrogant football player, he wasn't even attractive at all. Yuck. I mean, she can do so much better. Why is she with him? You know, and I think he knew this. He knew she could do better. So this is my first, you know, brush with, you know, seeing domestic violence in a relationship. You know, in the state of Florida, there are 150 cases of reported domestic violence cases. 24% of them are aggravated assault. 66% of the cases were by the hand of a spouse or boyfriend. 14,000 of the individuals stayed in a domestic violence shelter. 99% of them, of the women, died as a result of the domestic violence from 2005 to 2006. Some of them never stayed in the shelter or seek counseling. As a result, they were murdered. So I'm sure that these statistics are higher now, but I want you to know that since 2007 a lot of these statistics have changed, but this is still, you know, high numbers. In 2013 I met a man. I fell madly in love with him. We were friends though. He was my neighbor. We felt we were perfect for each other. This man became my second husband. He was sweet, romantic. He was very charming. In fact, he was cute. He had a job at the time, and you know it was better than the statistics from 2004. I had a good job. I had a car. You know, what was that? We was all right. He was going through it with his wife. He was going to end it with his wife. And then I was headed for Slicksville with my first husband. Because my first husband, he would stay at home all day and sit on the couch and watch TV. You know, he would work for a few months and collect the unemployment check. This was like a vicious cycle for him. And expecting for me to accept the bare minimum. So 6 years later, I decided that I did not want to be married no more. I'm not going through this with you. And so, you know, I met someone new who had a job. He was younger and he, you know, was more attractive and flirty, and he liked to go places and do things. He begged me to be his girlfriend. Please, please, please be my girlfriend. And I was like, all right. I'll be your girlfriend and we can be together. So he divorced his wife. I divorced my husband. Well, the first week he moved in with me, he lost his job mysteriously due to no fault of his own. Things continued to spiral. Oh my God, we began arguing in public. He humiliated me in front of his friends. He snatched off my wig. He even kicked me in the face with a soccer ball. His friends laughed at me. They thought that shit was funny. I mean, this guy was changing right before my eyes. I found out he did the same thing in previous relationships. You don't know people till you live with them. I realized he didn't care about me. So he began staying out later and later at night till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Until one day he came, one time he even came at home 12 p.m. the very next day. And I told him, I said, you should never, ever, ever do that again. Don't ever come in my house at 12 p.m. You don't disrespect me like that. I thought that was very, very disrespectful. I said, no, don't even come home at all. He was slamming the doors, breaking stuff, yelling, screaming, accusing me of cheating. He was drinking constantly. He belittled me always. He always tried to pull me down. Like when we was living at his parents' house, he actually tried to pull me down a flight of stairs. And, he even tried to smear toilet water in my face. But, why would you do that? I'm the one taking care of all the bills, paying for everything. And you treat me like that. What? Wow, really? It was very hurtful. He was very disrespectful. He was a classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was a class act. I can't believe he begged me to be his girlfriend only to treat me like that. He was so controlling. He was, I had to talk on the phone in front of him. He went through my purse. He, went through my phone. He was acting really, really possessive. He got to the point, and I told him, I said, you got to leave. You got to get out of my house. He was like, no, baby, I love you. I was like, you don't love me. You need a roof over your head. You need a place to stay. That's it. He started crying, telling me he had nowhere to live. And I said, that's exactly it. His family said he was not allowed to stay with them. And he didn't want to live with any of his friends because he would miss me too much. He was an impulsive, alcoholic demon. He was beyond disrespectful. I found out throughout the course of the relationship, he only held jobs for 6 months. And then he got fired or quit. Sounded like my first husband. He only wants to be taken care of by women, women that he can control and manipulate. So I found that out. But I thought I could change him, through love. I actually married this guy. Why did I do that? He was so jealous and possessive and argumentative, very angry. He had low self-esteem. You would think I had enough by now, but we stayed married for a year and a month. I really thought I could be a positive influence on this guy. I had faith in my marriage. This would be marriage number 2 for me. So I was really trying to stick by my man, right or wrong. I was committed. I was like, we need to go to church. We need to talk to the pastor for marriage counseling. He was like, no, baby, we can work it out on our own. I was like, no. Things began to spiral down more out of control when he started kicking the dog. Beating the dog, chasing him around the house with a broom. The dog was 10 pounds, covered with fur. I mean, really? I was like, why did I break off my first marriage I was with for 6 years? Even though the guy was lazy and boring, at least he shared his unemployment check. You know what I'm saying? But, he wasn't working. He stayed at home, doing the same thing. But still, it's just, he wasn't abusive, though. I started comparing the two. And then I was like, what the hell? I shouldn't have married neither one of them. I had to call the cops on my second ex-husband and, have him arrested for domestic violence battery. Night after night, I felt totally abandoned in my marriage. So I decided enough was enough. I had to leave. So I had to file for divorce. I did it for my son. I mean, thank God he's not Malik's father. My second husband, he turned into something evil, something out of a nightmare that had come to life in full form. I watched and prayed and protected my son and kept him safe throughout this whole ordeal. Neither one of my stories had a happy ending. You know how the happy ending is the beast turns out to be a Prince Charming and all because he fell in love and decided he didn't want to be a beast anymore. Well, that wasn't my story. Both of these guys are actually cowards and could not or would not get into a fight with a real man, because if they did, they would get knocked out or they would run. They only hit women and animals and pick and torment with them because they actually have low self-esteem, and that's how they get their power. You know, they never change. These guys that abuse you, they never change. They would just find the next victim, and the only way to stop them is to actually leave. I had to take a class on domestic violence, and I watched a video and heard similar stories to mine. The saddest part is I really loved him, and I didn't understand why he treated me like that. I was, hardworking and a good mom, and I loved him, but, the hard part was letting go, but it actually was the easiest part from, it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I didn't even let go. I ran. I had to run away from him. He wouldn't let me go. The worst cases are the statistics of the women that are actually dead. Their story ended like that. That's how their story ended. But 95% of them. Some of them didn't even report it, and the other half didn't even reach out for help. These men actually think it's funny to sit around the house and get drunk, beat on their women, and and call us horrible names. They let us work and pay all the bills, cook and clean, and take care of the children. Times have changed, and so have the men. Please reach out for help and tell someone what's going on in your story. Do not allow your self-esteem to get dragged down so low by a man that is his self-esteem is actually lower than yours. So I need you to keep the faith, and God knows all, hears all, sees all. Step out on faith and leave. Run if you have to. This is a sign from God. Me telling you my abusive story, that's a sign to leave your relationship. This is confirmation you needed. Things do not get better. Things actually get worse. So please, if you are in a domestic violence relationship, get out now. Call the domestic violence hotline. It's 1-800-799-7233. You can call any time of the day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. They're open 365 days. Or you can text SMART to 88788. Please reach out for help. Do not stay in this domestic violence relationship. All right, Royal Ones. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe. Love, hugs, and kisses. Bye.